I'm going to show you how to analyze data for our survey mini project. This skill will also be helpful to you if you use Google Forms for your Unit 2 research project. So I'm in our Schoology page and I clicked on updates here on the left-hand side, and it says here, click here to make a copy of the survey data for the survey mini project. I click that link. Now it's prompting me to make a copy, and that's so each of us can edit the data without messing up other people's data. So we each have our own copy of the data. All right, look at this. We've got a lot of information here. It was a pretty big survey and a lot of people responded. Let's see how many people responded. Each of these rows is an individual response to the survey. And you'll see that not everyone answered every question because they were all optional. So the 18th responder here was an 11th grade male who did not put down his GPA, for example. Okay, how many people responded to our survey? Looks like 99, or actually 98, because row 1 here is just the questions. So you have 98 responses so far. That's a good amount of data to analyze. All right, but this is kind of overwhelming. Luckily, to test my hypothesis, I don't need all of this data. All right, so what do I need? Well, first of all, it's a little bit hard to read these questions at the top. You'll notice they're getting cut off. So let me show you how to resolve that. I'm going to select row 1, all the questions here. I'm going to left click the 1 to select the whole row. And now I'm going to go up here to text wrapping and select wrap. And that just made the row taller so I can read all of the questions. All right. So what am I interested in here? Well, let's say my hypothesis has to do with the grade level of students and how safe and accepted they feel at school. Perhaps I hypothesize that older students, juniors, seniors, feel more safe and accepted at school than younger students. That means I'm not interested in questions about aliens or conspiracy theories. And so I'm going to hide that data here in a minute. First thing I want you to do is add a filter. And that's going to help us out a lot in a minute. So how do you add a filter? You're going to select all the cells by clicking this box in the upper left. Then you click this little funnel guy, create a filter. That's going to help us in just a minute. So now I'm going to focus on the questions that actually interest me. I'm interested in what grade people are in. I need that data to test my hypothesis. So I'm going to select column C. So I left clicked at the top here, selected all the grade data. And I'm going to make that column yellow. I'm going to fill it with yellow so it stands out. My other question that interests me has to do with feelings of belongingness. So I'm scrolling over. How safe and accepted do you feel at school? I'm going to select column Z, fill that with yellow, because that one matters to me also. Now, I've got all this data in the middle that doesn't interest me. I'd like to hide it. I'm going to hide this information about gender identity, GPA, etc. How do I do that? Okay, left click here, and I'm holding down my mouse. You got to hold down your mouse or your clicker as you drag across to select all the questions that you do not need. All right, now I've selected all of those, and now I'm going to right click, or if you're in a Chromebook, hold down Control and click. Hide those columns. All right, now I've got the two things that I need right next to each other. I'm going to make it even easier to read by selecting both columns and putting that data center. Okay, Now I'm testing my hypothesis that older students feel more safe and accepted at school compared to younger students. All right, so I've got a 12th grader here who rated it a 3 out of 5, so sort of in the middle. 11th grader who also rated it 3 out of 5. This is still a little bit overwhelming to me to make sense out of, but there's a handy tool to put things in order. I want to keep I want to make an ordered list of what grade people are in. So that's where my filter is now helpful. The filter added these little upside down triangles here. And so I'm going to click this one, left click, and I'm going to sort A to Z. Even though they're numbers, Google Sheets calls it A to Z. All right, so now look, all my 10th graders here at the top. Apparently there were no 9th graders who took this survey. That's not surprising since I don't teach any 9th grade classes this year. And then I've got my juniors. Not very many juniors took the survey. And then I've got my seniors. That's probably the biggest group. A lot of seniors who took this survey. Now, you may not have noticed, but these numbers over here also got rearranged. Because each row is one person's response to this survey, we need to keep that data straight. So let's do some comparison. Let's see how safe and accepted the 10th graders feel on average. So I'm going to select all the scores over here for the 10th graders by clicking this 4 and holding down my mouse. Click and drag all the way down till the last 10th grader, which is there. Okay, now we want to calculate their average, and Google Sheets does that for us automatically if we know where to look. We look down here in the bottom right. The sum of those scores is 127, but that does not interest me. If I click this triangle, it shows me some more data. On average, the 10th graders who took this survey rated their safety and acceptance at school as a 3.1 on a scale of 1 to 5. That number is really interesting to me, so I need to write that down. 10th graders, 3.1 on average. Now my expectation is that juniors and seniors will be higher. That was my hypothesis. I may be wrong. Let's test it and find out. So let's select the 11th grade score. So I'm going to click this 3. That's the first 11th grader. Holding down my mouse, dragging to the last 11th grader. Average score, 3.1. Okay, same as the sophomores. Let's do the same. Let's do the same for the seniors. This is the first senior. I'm selecting all these scores so I can see what the average score is. This senior didn't answer that question, but that's okay. That won't affect our data. All right, all the seniors. Average, 3.3. Okay, a little bit higher than the sophomores and juniors. So I might conclude that my hypothesis was correct. It's not a huge difference, but the seniors feel a little more safe and accepted at school compared to the juniors and the sophomores. What are some limitations of this? Well, there were no 9th graders. Wish I would have had some 9th graders to see how they feel. Also, the group of juniors was really small, and it's hard to make conclusions about this data when so few juniors actually responded to the survey. But, my seniors